In this episode of PassFCE, word formation, part 3 of the reading and use of English paper. Hello and welcome to PassFCE, episode 13. This is a Mansion Inglés podcast specifically created to help you pass the first certificate in English exam from Cambridge. I'm Craig. I'm a teacher at the British Council in Valencia, Spain, and I'm a Cambridge oral examiner with over 20 years of teaching experience. In this episode of PassFCE, we are answering a question from Ezekiel, which we received on the website inglespodcast.com. And Ezekiel says, I'm preparing to take the FCE exam and I was wondering if you could give us some tips or vocabulary about the word formation part, which is a bit confusing and difficult for me to decide between adverbs, nouns, adjectives. Okay, Ezekiel, thank you very much for your question. Well, word formation is particularly important in the writing, speaking and the use of English parts of the exam. It really is important to know the difference, for example, between slow, the adjective, you're a slow driver, and slowly, the adverb, you drive slowly. But I think the part of the exam that tests this the most is part 3 of the reading and use of English paper, when you have to change the root words and put them in a text. Okay, so here's an example. Listening to a teacher's voice on a mobile phone would have seemed 30 years ago. Let me repeat that sentence. Listening to a teacher's voice on a mobile phone would have seemed 30 years ago. And the word you have to change is believe. Now, the word you need for the gap, for the space, is an adjective. Do you know the adjective of to believe? It's believable. But wait a minute. I don't think it was possible to listen to a recorded voice on a mobile phone 30 years ago. I don't believe this. And I think it's the opposite of believable. So what's the opposite of believable? How can you change believable to make it the opposite meaning? It's unbelievable. So it's really important to read the text carefully and understand the context of the missing word. So it could be negative or it could be positive. You have to understand what the sentence is saying. So the answer is, listening to a teacher's voice on a mobile phone would have seemed unbelievable 30 years ago. Okay? So this is how I suggest you do part 3. The word formation or the word families exercise. Okay, number 1, read the text quickly. It's a complete text. So just read it very quickly to get an idea of the content of the subject of the text. Then, number 2, look at the gap, the first gap, and the word at the end of the line. Number 3, now try to change the word, usually using a prefix or a suffix or both. Don't worry about prefixes and suffixes. I will explain those in a minute. So you change the word. That's step number 3. And step number 4, remember to answer all the questions. If you don't know the answer, if you're not sure, just guess. Write something, because if you don't answer the question, it will definitely be wrong. So, what are prefixes and what are suffixes? Well, examples of prefixes are un, for example, unbelievable, in, in, miss, mis, like misunderstand, for example. Now, prefixes, they go before, at the beginning of the word, and they change the meaning of a word. So believable changes to unbelievable. The positive becomes negative. Understand or understood is positive. Misunderstand is the negative. Now, suffixes come at the end of the word. So, for example, tion, shun. For example, converse, conversation. Or substitute, substitution. Then you have ly, for example, slow, slowly. And then you have another example, ment, for example, government. Govern is the verb, government is the noun. So suffixes change the word class. To govern is a verb, and the noun is government. What's the adjective? What's the adjective of govern? Government. Governable. So it's the same suffix as believe. Governable, believable. So again, suffixes change the word class, the word family, from noun to verb to adjective. And the prefixes at the beginning change the meaning. So it is possible you need to make two changes to the root word, the word they give you. For example, maybe the word is luck and you change the word to unlucky. So luck, the noun, becomes lucky, the adjective, and unlucky is the negative. Two changes. Maybe you change the word kind to unkindly. Maybe you change the word sense to insensitive. So when you do this exercise, ask yourself these questions. Is the word I need a noun? Is the word a noun? Is it a verb? Is it an adjective? Is it an adverb? And does it have a positive meaning or does it have a negative meaning? Let me give you an example. Pepito was very to lose his job. And the root word is fortune. So Pepito was very to lose his job. Fortune. So you obviously need an adjective. What's the adjective of fortune? Fortunate. But is it fortunate or unfortunate? He was very to lose his job. Obviously, he lost his job. It's negative. The answer is unfortunate. Sometimes there are irregular words that need a different word change. For example, long is an adjective. The long film, for example. And you change it to a noun. It's irregular. So what's the noun of long? Length. Length. What's the noun of wide? Wide is an adjective. The noun is width. width. High is another adjective. What's the noun of high? It's a high building. I was amazed by the height of the building. height. Height. Deep is another adjective. What's the noun? Depth. depth. Sun. From sun we can have sunlight, sunshine, sunny. There are many word changes. So be careful of these irregular changes because they're very common in the use of English part of the exam. Long changes to length, wide, width, high, height, deep, depth. If you have a verb like eat, for example, you add the prefix over and you have the word overeat, to eat too much. You have the adjective kind, you add the prefix un, you have the negative adjective unkind. You have the same word kind, the adjective. You add the suffix ness, N-E-S-S, and you have the noun kindness. You have the verb perform. You add the suffix A-N-C-E. You have the noun performance. Let me give you some suffixes and try to think of some nouns. For example, M-E-N-T. M-E-N-T. Can you think of nouns that finish with M-E-N-T? Well, there's improvement, enjoyment, department, commitment. What about the suffix er at the end of the word? Er. For example, teacher, baker, adventurer, owner. Now, what about or at the end of the word? O-R. Can you think of any? We have actor, for example, professor, sailor, inventor. Another suffix, T-I-O-N, shun, T-I-O-N. Any ideas? Well, there's invention, prediction, transaction, adoption. One more, S-I-O-N, same pronunciation, shun. Any ideas? What about confusion, admission, conclusion, aggression? Another suffix, A-T-I-O-N, Asian. Asian. Any ideas? We have organization. There's imagination. Also, abbreviation. And radiation. Let's have one more suffix, I-T-I-O-N, ishan. Any ideas for ishan at the end of words? Well, there's proposition, there's ambition, composition, and also repetition, for example. Okay, let's change now to adjectives using suffixes. Can you think of any adjectives that finish with I-V-E? Iv. For example, attractive, inventive, addictive, productive. What about ative? Ative. There's talkative, imaginative, argumentative, and informative. Now let's look at itive. Not ative, but itive. I-T-I-V-E. Can you think of any? Well, there's sensitive, definitive, fugitive, someone who's running from the police, a fugitive, and repetitive. Repetitive. So A-B-L-E is the next one. Able. A-B-L-E. Any ideas? We could have suitable and countable, a countable noun. We can have predictable. And another example, enjoyable. And finally, some adjectives with the suffix I-B-L-E, able. Any ideas? Well, there's convertible, sensible, and irresponsible. So there are some examples I've just mentioned, but how can you improve your word families? How can you improve your knowledge of these different word changes? Well, reading helps. If you read more, then I think you will become more aware. You will know more types of words and you'll recognize different prefixes and suffixes changing words. So read more. Read about your hobbies. Read about your pastimes. Read about things you're interested in. And while you're reading, try to identify these words if they're verbs, if they're nouns, if they're adjectives or adverbs. Learn the suffixes and the prefixes of words. Not only new words, but some words you may already know, but maybe you don't know all the different groups of these words. It also can help to make a word table. For example, make a table or an Excel sheet with 4 columns, and in the first column you write the verb, second column you write the adjective, and then the noun, and finally the adverb. For example, you might have to confuse in the first column, then confused or confusing. So confused would be the passive adjective, I am confused, and confusing the active adjective. So it's a confusing subject. Then the next column could be the noun confusion, and the final column the adverb, so confusingly. I looked confusingly at the exam, for example. Okay, let's try some example word transformation exercises. So I'll say the sentence and then you'll hear a beep where the gap is. And I'll say the key word or the root word at the end. So the word you have to change is at the end. And then I'll repeat the sentence and you say the correct word before I do, or try to say the correct word before you hear it. Okay? So here's the first one. I'm writing in reply to your in Surf magazine for a summer job in your beach bar. And the word you have to change is advertise. I'm writing in reply to your in Surf magazine for a summer job in your beach bar. Advertise. Here's the answer. I'm writing in reply to your advertisement in Surf magazine for a summer job in your beach bar. Next one. My boss looked at me and told me I have to work more hours for less money. Direct is the word you change. Direct. So, my boss looked at me and told me I have to work more hours for less money. Direct. The answer is directly. It's the adverb. So, my boss looked directly at me and told me I have to work more hours for less money. Next one. I'm in complete with your suggestions, and we all look forward to working with you. Agree is the word. Agree. So, I'm in complete with your suggestions, and we all look forward to working with you. The answer is agreement. I'm in complete agreement with you. Another one. India finally got their from Britain in 1948. The word you change is depend. India finally got their from Britain in 1948. Depend. 2 changes here. The answer, independence. India finally got their independence from Britain in 1948. Next one. There's usually a lot of inside Grand Central Station in New York City. It's one of the busiest train stations in the world. And the word you change is act. A-C-T. Act. Again, there's usually a lot of inside Grand Central Station in New York City. The answer, activity. There's usually a lot of activity inside Grand Central Station in New York City. Next one. When my computer broke, I had no but to buy a new one. And the word you change is choose. C-H-O-O-S-E. Choose. When my computer broke, I had no but to buy a new one. The answer, choice. The noun of choose is choice. C-H-O-I-C-E. So, when my computer broke, I had no choice but to buy a new one. Next sentence. Everyone shouted when Diego scored the winning goal. And the word is enthusiasm. Enthusiasm. Again, everyone shouted when Diego scored the winning goal. And the answer, enthusiastically. It's the adverb, enthusiastically. It's describing the way everyone shouted. So the answer, everyone shouted enthusiastically when Diego scored the winning goal. Next one. All my friends were full of when I passed the FCE exam. And the word is admire. The verb to admire. Again, so ask yourself, is it an adverb, an adjective, a noun? What word is missing? All my friends were full of when I passed the FCE exam. The answer, admiration. The noun, admire, admiration. So all my friends were full of admiration when I passed the FCE exam. Next one. I feel very to my French teacher, although she's 15 years older than I am. The word you change, attract. The verb attract. So again, I feel very to my French teacher, although she's 15 years older than I am. The answer, attracted. So I feel very attracted to my French teacher. Finally, one more, the last one. Mary Shelley was the writer and of Frankenstein. And the word is create. Create. Mary Shelley was the writer and creator. C-R-E-A-T-O-R. Creator. Mary Shelley was the writer and creator of Frankenstein. So, I hope this information has helped you. There is no easy fix or answer to this part of the exam. You have to study, you have to read more, you have to learn these different kinds of words, the prefix changes, the suffix changes, and you have to study. But try my ideas. Try making a table. Try changing words with the prefix at the beginning, with the suffix at the end, and keep studying. If you have any questions about this part of the exam, or any part of the FCE exam, send me an email to craig@inglespodcast.com. Or if you go to our website at inglespodcast.com, you can record your voice and you can send us a voice message, which is good practice for the speaking part of the exam. So thanks for listening, and we'll be back very soon with another episode of PassFCE. Remember, you can learn English free at mansioningles.com, and you can take your English to the next level with our audio podcasts at inglespodcast.com. And to remind you that our CD, New Mansion First, is full of practice material, useful advice, and realistic exam practice tests that will prepare you for taking the Cambridge FCE exam. You can download this course also. It's available now as a digital download direct to your PC. Find more details of our FCE course at mansioningles.com. PassFCE13.com. The music is by Stefsex. The track is called Owl, CC attribution license from ccmixter.com.